Hi, it's Jeremy Shatton from An Earful. Welcome back to Discover Music with An Earful. This is monthly listening for August 2024. If this is your first time here, we're going to have an action-packed rundown of a lot of releases that came out in August, maybe a couple from the end of July. But first, we're going to start with some live music. It was a good month for that too. So when we come back, 3 concerts. Earlier this year, I was so disappointed to miss Bang on a Can's Long Play Festival in Brooklyn. I had such fun attending several shows there last year. But then the stars aligned, and we found ourselves in Massachusetts, in the Berkshires specifically, during the same time that Bang on a Can was doing their Loud Weekend at MassMoCA, the Massachusetts Museum of Contemporary Art in North Adams. If you've never been there, it is one of the wonders of the Northeast, a repurposed factory turned into an array of incredible spaces for hosting art and performances. When we were there, we got to see Meredith Monk. And you know, I've never been a Meredith Monk fan, but I was captivated by what we heard. We heard a beautiful piece called Backlight for an ensemble of 8 or 9 players. Just absolutely gorgeous, a mysterious serpentine sound. And we also heard Vicky Chow performing 4 piano pieces. Vicky Chow is one of the wonders of the world too. What an amazing pianist. She had so much delight engaging with these pieces. And no one was more delighted with her engagement than Meredith Monk herself. The 81-year-old composer leapt out of her seat to hug Vicky Chow, and the house was brought down. What a great way to start off our version. Then we dashed to another performance space to hear a Marcos Walter spotlight. And Marcos's music is really wonderful. We heard Nick Fotinos playing a cello solo, and then we heard a huge piece that Marcos put together for Deerhoof and Ensemble Dal Niente. It's expansive, it's sprawling, it's epic in parts. There's 3 vocalists. The rock band at the core of it rocks out. Everybody else plays to their heart's content. It really is just a wonderful piece. I heard echoes of Steely Dan, believe it or not. The name of the piece is Meltdown Upshot, and it was recorded back in 2016 by the Original Forces. I highly recommend giving that a listen if you haven't already. And that was just the first night. We drove over there. That was late Friday night. The next day, we arrived a bit early. We were able to have lunch in their fantastic cafeteria there. And then we got to hear an amazing performance of Gay Gorilla by Julius Eastman. It was extraordinarily arranged for the Bang on a Can players, much more expansive than the usual piano arrangements. I really loved watching Mark Stewart, the electric guitarist, keeping such a careful eye on his iPhone, which had the timing for each section. As David Lang pointed out when introducing the piece, the way Julius Eastman worked, he left a lot of freedom in the pieces for the musicians. And I've talked about this before when I've talked about Eastman. So in a way, every performance is a world premiere. And this felt like a moment. There was an almost spiritual connection between the players and the music, the players and each other, and the players and the audience. Shabaka was there with his flute, and he walked out in a trance, as did we all. What an amazing. After that, we went and saw some art. We also heard John Schaefer and Terrence McKnight have a conversation about the role of media in the new music ecosphere. Just a lively, engaging, incredible amount of artistic ferment filled MassMoCA, and that's a big space to fill. After dinner, we got to hear Leni Pfefferman do her White Fire. These are songs that I've talked about on the podcast before, but watching her perform them was a real joy. She had a different pair of sunglasses for each biblical woman that she was embodying. She also gave introductions to each piece, talking about her relationship with these women and how she wanted to bring them to life in the piece. White Fire is a fantastic record. You can hear it anywhere. If you ever get a chance to see it live, though, I highly recommend you do so. We had a wonderful time at Loud Weekend. I hope to even do more next year. Who knows? Next year might be the year that I go to Long Play and I miss Loud Weekend. But Bang on a Can, Long May They Reign, they really do a wonderful job. When we come back, 2 concerts at the Time Spans Festival. When people talk about the Time Spans Festival, they usually introduce it by saying how August is a quiet month for new music in New York, but that's not it. The Time Spans Festival owns August in New York, so let's just get used to it. It's been going since 2015. Next year will be the 10th anniversary. This year they had 12 concerts over as many nights, and I could have easily gone to all of them. These are the world-class performers, everyone from Ensemble Signal to Yarn Wire. Olivia DePrato was doing something. I really would have loved to see more concerts, but I did manage to make it to both of the Thalia Ensemble's nights. The first one was extraordinary. Stephen Kazuo Takasugi's Piano Concerto, the Sinfonietta version, a smaller orchestra than the one that premiered the piece in Europe. But in a way, it was a world premiere because no one had heard it this way before. And it was just absolutely mind-boggling, sometimes incredibly loud. The pianist was Roger Admiral. What an incredible performer. His fingers were flying so fast, you could barely see them. Naturally, Takasugi had given him quite a challenging part, but everybody had to work in this piece. And we had some of the best musicians up there. Really just a continuous array of sound. Dense, powerful. It's hard to describe. We recorded it. Hopefully it'll become a record. It really was fantastic. We had many, many microphones up there, so it should be a great recording. The performance was edge of your seat exciting. 2 nights later was a very different concert. 6 pieces by young composers who had engaged with Thalia in various academic settings, having the opportunity to hear their music played by an expert ensemble for the first time. Some of these pieces go back 10 years. Some of them are brand new, 2022, 2024, just beautiful, imaginative, kind of sometimes a bit on the nutty side. There's Shasha Chen's piece, The Bee is Present, which is ideally performed with a bee in the room. Obviously, we couldn't do that, but the thought of it was very interesting. Music was beautiful, flute, bassoon, violin, cello, and amplification. There was also Alec Hall's Vertigo, in which he tried to bring to musical life that effect that Hitchcock used in the movie, the dolly zoom, where the camera zooms in while the camera dollies out, giving you that vertigo sensation. Really great piece. We also heard a piece by David Byrd that I hadn't heard before, written for Thalia with soloist Laura Cox on bass flute. As you know, I love the Talk Ensemble too, and she's a principal part of that. What a great performance all around. The other composers were Uri Kochavi, Sasha J. Blondeau, and Sivan Cohen Elias. I recommend you remember these names, make note of them. You'll hear more about them in the future. The last thing I'll say about Time Spans is these tickets sell. These things sell out on a Tuesday night in August. So next year, make a plan. It will be starting on August 9th, going through the 23rd in 2025 for its 10th anniversary. Pick any one of the concerts. It's sure to be amazing, and I hope to see you. When we come back, one more concert, the end of our hot live summer for 2024. We ended our summer concert season in the perfect spot, Central Park, on a beautiful night, hot but not too hot, crowded but not too crowded, and we got to see Snail Mail. This is the indie rock project of Lindsey Jordan, fantastic guitarist, singer, songwriter. As a guitarist, she was actually taught by Mary Timony of Helium, etc., and she really is great. In concert, she's actually more dynamic as a guitarist than she is on record. I think she wants to focus on her whole romantic singing, songwriting experience on record. But in concert, she just lets loose. Absolutely incredible, sometimes spiky, sometimes elegant. She played one solo on the song Sailing that sounded a little like something Steely Dan would respect. There they are again. They're always on my mind. I love Steely. She was just great quirky, full of personality, funny. At times she was even funnier than Tim Heidecker, who was the middle act, who also works as a stand-up comedian. He had some great songs, great band, very dynamic performance. He really gave his all. He had a lot of fans there. It was fun to watch them enjoy it. Really a good show. And the opener was Fen Lily, who I've been listening to for a while. Felt like seeing her in concert give me more focus to what she's working on. And she really is leaning into a kind of Australian Americana, beautiful sound. She played a new song that was very good, meditative. I think she's a fine singer-songwriter who may be only getting better. But it was so fantastic to finally see Snail Mail. Been listening to her since at least 2016 or 2017. And she hasn't put any music out since 2021, except for a cover, a Smashing Pumpkins cover, and some demos, but I hope there's something new on the horizon from her soon, because Lindsey Jordan is a special artist. Great way to end our hot live summer, and when we come back, finally, some recording. Our first recording this month comes from David Fulmer. In 2017, on my Best of Classical, I included his Skies Acetylene, 13-minute piece that really made me want to hear more of it. And he also had a piece on Michael Nicholas's Transitions, a great record of solo cello music. And now we have a wonderful portrait album, Immaculate Sigh of Stars, coming out September 13th for full release, but you can stream it now. And it really is a wonderful, complete, well-rounded introduction to his composition. He's also well known as a conductor. The piece we're going to hear is inspired by a Hart Crane poet, and it is called Only in Darkness Is Thy Shadow Clear, for two pianos played by Nathan Ben Yehuda and Leon Bernsdorf. Give a listen to an excerpt from David Fulmer's Only in Darkness Is Thy Shadow Clear. Doesn't he create a wonderful atmosphere with those two pianos? So original. And the whole album is just full of color and invention. There's a violin concerto on here, a trio piece for cello, piano, and percussion, a couple more solo piano pieces, a solo cello piece played by Jay Campbell of the Jack Quartet, a trio piece, a solo harp work, wonderful stuff. Really a great album. I recommend it very highly. Get to it when you can. Our next recording is another portrait album, also released on the New Focus label, featuring 30 years of compositions by Richard Cameron Wolfe. A great deal of variety here. And just as in the David Fulmer piece we heard interaction between two pianos, in this piece, Time Refracted, we're going to hear really cool interaction between cello and piano, played by Caleb van der Swa and Gail Blankenberg, respectively. The name of the album is Passionate Geometries. We're going to hear an excerpt from Time Refracted. Here it is. I think you can hear some angular elegance to what Richard Cameron Wolfe is doing in that piece. The wonderful time refracted from his great portrait album, Passionate Geometries. I recommend the whole album. There's also a great deal of wit on the record. The same can be said for the debut full length from Beyza Yazgan, a pianist and improviser. Her album is called Human Cocoon. The piece we're going to hear is one of the ones that demonstrates her wry sense of humor. It's called Nomepides in Satie's Garden. That will all make sense when you hear this excerpt. Wasn't that charming? The whole of Human Cocoon by Beyza Yazgan is like a warm embrace from an old friend. Speaking of which, when I went to see Luscious Jackson in 2016, my friend and I got there a little bit late. There was already a tight crowd in front of the stage. I was ready to stand back there. And then Maggie Goss spotted me, grabbed my hand, yanked me through the crowd, saying, you can't be back there. You need to be up front. And she was right. I had a great time. What a wonderful concert it was. Maggie and I went to high school together, and she was John Barry's girlfriend. So she was on the scene as the young Aborigines were going through their paces, such as they were. Her daughter Grace is a percussionist and composer. When I spotted that they had put out a piece called Three Paths Through Static, performed by Dice Trio, I had to know more. And I went to listen, and it was very cool. Sort of a riff on minimalism, and a colorful riff on minimalism, I should say. It's very lovely. The band Dice Trio consists of Adeline DeBella on flute, Grace Presley saxophone, Sam Friedman trumpet. They graduated from the Manhattan School of Music in May of this year, so they are young and they are having a great time. And I want you to hear just a little bit of Path 1 from Three Paths Through Static by Dice Trio, composed by Grace Goss. I like the sense of atmosphere that Goss creates with Dice Trio, that electronic halo surrounding everything. It's a little bit moody, but there's a brightness to it as well. Looking forward to hearing more from Dice and Goss. And speaking of more, when we come back, we will have more from Electronic Realm in a minute on Discover Music with an Earful. And I am back. One of 2023's finest albums was Omar Ahmad's Inheritance, an autobiographical, beautiful collection of ambient and beat-driven electronic music. I remember him telling me that he tried to get the album on a label, and some labels said it was too ambient, others said it wasn't ambient enough. So he found AKP, they put it out. It's fantastic, as I said. Now we have a remix, which is probably making all those people who said there weren't enough beats a little bit jealous. Let's hear an excerpt from Lapses, the Oto Dojo remix, on Inheritance Remixed by Omar Ahmad. Once again, that was Lapses, the Oto Dojo remix from Inheritance Remixed by Omar Ahmad. A nice alternate view of the songs on that wonderful album. It's been a good year for remixes, actually. The Kelela Raven remix album may be even better than the original because it's a bit more fun and a bit more dynamic. Great stuff. Next, we have a performer who is just magnetic to watch, Darian Donovan Thomas. I've seen him perform with Media Queer, his duo with Phong Tran, the electronic composer and synthesist. I also saw him playing violin in a large ensemble with Dawn Richard and Spencer Zahn. He's been on the road with Moses Sumney. He is everywhere. And now he's released a fantastic new album. In some ways, like Inheritance, it's sort of an autobiographical look at his life through electronic textures and sounds and epic compositions. The name of the album is A Room with Many Doors, Night. The companion album, Day, will be released later. I'm looking forward to that greatly, but for now we have this. And let's hear an excerpt from Volver, Volver, the Mexican ranchera song, arranged and sang by Darian Donovan Thomas. His collaborator on this song is Kalia Van Dever, who plays a trombone through an Electro-Harmonix Memory Man, also applies a TC Electronic Ditto and Quintessence JHS Color Box V2, and Hologram Electronics Microcosm. I don't know what all that means exactly. It's gear, but it sounds great. Listen up.
Otra vez se perder. Quiero volver, volver, volver.
I just love the raw emotion Darian creates with his voice, surrounded by that glorious cloud of electronics created by the trombone and all those bits of gear. A really wonderful approach to that song, and the whole album is just an experience to walk through and live in. Coincidentally, I heard about Darian's album through Jan Espra, the communications and PR coordinator for New Amsterdam, the label that put out A Room with Many Doors. Then I get an email from James Vella, who runs the Phantom Limb label, and he's telling me about an album by Jan Espra. I thought, is this the same guy? I did a little research. It's definitely the same guy. Besides being the communications and PR coordinator for New Amsterdam, Jan is a composer and guitarist. Electronic music is his specialty, and he has a new entry in the Spirituals series on Phantom Limb, which has a very high hit rate for me. I love the stuff they've released by Ibicon Sunday and others. The Dow album, Gilly's Wood, which I had on the podcast earlier this year. Really great stuff. And Jan's album is called Suspended in a Breath, and it is just beautiful. The textures and the layers and just a lightness of touch. It's really a nice experience. Let's hear an excerpt from Semi-Sentient, from Suspended in a Breath by Jan Espra. Didn't that just lend some sparkle to your day? Semi-Sentient from Suspended in a Breath by Jan Espra. In the liner notes, he talks about how a daily practice of making ambient music led to the assembly of this album. The daily practice for the next band is quite different in that they have not released an album for 24 years. I'm talking about the Softies, which is the duo of Jen Sabragia and Rose Melberg. They were kicking it out pretty steadily from 1994 or so to 2000, and then they went their separate ways. Rose Melberg has been very busy in music ever since, lots of different bands. Most recently, she was on the 2019 debut EP by Australia-based Olivia's World, playing the drums, and she's really good. Jen Sabragia became a graphic designer and brand maker. She has a wonderful website called jensabragia.com. Jen Sabragia Creative. She's doing lots of very cool visual stuff. but now they are back with a new album. To be honest, the last time I even thought of the Softies was around 2019 when I was reviewing the all-girl Summer Fun Band's first album for Off Your Radar, and Jen Sobragio was in the band, and I noted that they hadn't made an album since 2008, and the Softies had been done since 2000, and the Thermals were also involved, and they had disbanded in 2018. Maybe it was time for a new all-girl Summer Fun Band album, because their stuff is a lot of fun. But I didn't expect in 2024 we'd be getting a new Softies album, and it is a pure exercise in charm. The song we're going to hear is Sigh, Sigh, Sigh. Could there be a more perfect title for a Softies song? You'll know what I mean when you hear it. The name of the album is The Bed I Made, and this is Sigh, Sigh, Sigh.
That feeling when you lost something you never had, but you wanted it so bad. I was going to burn it to the ground with you, but none of this was true. Held my hopes up higher than the sky, but now there's someone else keeping you up at night. Might as well get higher than a kite. Sigh, sigh, sigh. Sigh, sigh, sigh. Sigh, sigh, sigh.
Are you sighing yet? Sigh, Sigh, Sigh from The Bed I Made, the first album in 24 years from the Softies. When I reviewed All Girl Summer Fun Band, I said, the lyrics are witty, the melodies stick, and the ratio of melancholy to blitheness is the formula for perfect pop. And I think you can say the same thing about this album. It really is wonderful. And since we've already mentioned Steely Dan, I'm now contractually obligated to say that it was only 20 years between Gaucho and Two Against Nature, and that seemed an awfully long time. So congratulations to the Softies on their new album, The Bed I Made. They are also on tour. Shows are selling out. The world is ready once again for their wonderful music. Next we have the latest from Ryan Gustafson, who performs as The Dead Tongues. I've been listening to him for almost 10 years when I first saw him on stage with Phil Cook at Rough Trade back in 2015. He opened the show with a fantastic set of Appalachia-infused folk and Americana guitar songs. And then he played in the band with Phil Cook, holding down rhythm guitar duties for the night. Well, what a great show that was. Actually, one of the best shows of 2015. Phil Cook back then was on fire. He's grown quieter these days. But The Dead Tongues has been very busy. And I noted on their album Unsung Passage from 2018 that I felt he was really getting somewhere when he pushed things further. And there was a song with flute and strings. He was sort of pushing outside of his initial aim of, this really rootsy, haunting folk music. And this year he's released a double project called Body of Light / I Am a Cloud. It's a double album. He released them separately, but now they are joined together as one. Once again, I like the more ethereal stuff, the I Am a Cloud side, and now we'll hear an excerpt from the title track, I'm a Cloud Now, which has a surprisingly rhythmic drive. Here it is. spacey stuff from Ryan Gustafson and the Dead Tongues. I think it's a great mode for him to work in. I like this album a lot. I'm a Cloud. Get to it. Next, we have another album that also draws on Americana, but even more directly. This is the latest from Wild Ponies, their first in 7 years. I saw them back in Nashville a number of years ago and was just blown away by their musicianship, their songwriting, their singing. It's made up of Doug and Talisha Williams and whoever they get to help them. Doug is a stellar guitar player, just one of the best out there right now. Someone who can really thrill you with a solo. He's also a good rhythm player. Speaking of rhythm, Talisha plays the upright bass, gives a nice solid drive to all their songs. The new album is called Dreamers. I think it's their best yet. A variety of subjects. They talk about things in their life and things going on in the world, but without a sense of preachiness or didacticism. They just feel like real people experiencing these things and wanting to share them with you. So many of the message songs I find in the Americana sphere are just, I feel like I'm being told what to feel. With Dreamers by Wild Ponies, it's more like a conversation with a friend. The song we're going to hear is called Bury the Young. Yes, it was composed after the Parkland school shootings, when they noted that it was the young people saying the smartest things after the tragedy. Give a listen to an excerpt from Bury the Young by Wild Ponies, and you'll get to hear some of that fiery Doug Williams guitar.
Folded flag upon the mantle, limestone markers shining in the sun. 17 birthday candles, never gonna burn for anyone. Mothers shouldn't grieve their babies, fathers shouldn't mourn their sons. Lay their hope beneath the daisies. It's not right for the old to bury the young. It's not right for the old to bury the young. We're gonna fix what you left broken.
Hard not to play the whole song. It's so good. Bury the Young by Wild Ponies from their album Dreamers. A sure sign of quality is also the ability of a song to work on many levels. And that song also resonates with me personally, someone who has buried a child due to cancer. So that's the level that they're working at. They also know country and Americana like the back of their hands. You probably won't hear a better album in those genres this year. But they are not living a conventional lifestyle, and some of the songs address the fact that they are in a polyamorous relationship with a woman named Laura, and they have children with her. They've fostered a child. They've lived every different kind of way, and they just share it all. They're very open about it. It's very, very beautiful, and I can't recommend it highly enough. Dreamers by Wild Ponies. Now for something completely different, we're going to head back to my post-punk sweet spot, or at least post-punk influenced. This is the second album from a band called Fake Fruit, which began as the project of Hannah D'Amato and is now a full-fledged band. Their first album came out in 2021, and now we have album 2. No sophomore slump here. It's actually a huge leap from the first album. It's called Mucho Mistrust. Yes, they took that from the Blondie song. I love that. But this rocks a little more angularly than Blondie ever did. I really like the way they put the two guitars together, very spiky. And the song we're going to hear, because I wanted to have some kind of segue from Wild Ponies, is called Ponies from Fake Fruit.
basket. On the ponies.
Ponies by Fake Fruit from their second album Mucho Mistrust, out now, and it is great. Another band making good use of guitars is Blood. Their debut album was recorded in Brooklyn after they had moved from Austin to Philadelphia, trading one cool music scene for another. I think they actually fit the Philadelphia scene quite well. Now, after making the record, 3 of the band members quit, but they are once again a 6-piece. I'd love to see them live. They have a lot of variety and space on their album amidst the guitars. We'll hear some of that on the song Bone Dry, which is also darn catchy. Give a listen.
Bone dry, bone dry, a heavy made. You've been locked out of the game, but good time inside your cave. Custom made, look like the same page. Oh, is it lost out in the pain? Oh, is it lost out with the Matthew? I kiss the curse out in the rain. Read it like someone else's bad news. Bone dry, a bone dry, a heaven made. I've been locked out of the game, bad good time inside your cave. Custom made, look like you're still sane. Oh, is it lost out in the pain? Oh, is it lost out with the Matthew? Kiss the curse out in the rain. Oh, if you can't, how are you with her? Not we go home, back to the cedar.
That's Bone Dry by Blood from their debut album, Loving You Backwards. Really great stuff. Another great debut comes from Wishy. The album is called 777. This is the project of Kevin Crowder and Nina Pitchkites, both singers, songwriters, instrumentalists, and they put together a really fantastic band to put these songs over. The bio mentions grunge, shoegaze, power pop. Sure, it's all there, but it really just sounds like good rock and roll in the 21st century. I love the layered guitars, the pulsing rhythms, and you're going to hear those in Spit coming up now.
Bone
Spit by Wishy from their debut album 777. Great record. The first time I listened to it, I was on a plane coming back from Colorado, and I needed something to cut through all the noise that a plane generates, and this did a great job. So let it cut through some of the noise in your life. Our next album is another debut, this one from Evelyn, the project of Danny Lencioni. I first became aware of her around 2016 or so after I met Richard Elfrichtig, and I kept going to see his band Ocean Music. At one of those shows, I think it was at Come On Everybody in Brooklyn, a band called Evelyn opened, and that turned out to be the project of Danny Lencioni, singer, songwriter, guitar player with an absolutely stunning voice. Since then, she's put out a few EPs, and I've kept track of her on Instagram and on Spotify, watching what she listens to. But it wasn't until now that her debut just came out. So let's hear a bit of The Pines from Someday We Will Eat a Feast of Light, the debut album from Evelyn.
I'm overgrown. Weeds and all. Just hold my hands in your hands and take me up to the pines, up to the better air. Lay me down, and I'll put away my anger, I'll put away my pride, I'll put away my sadness for a little while. If you'll dance with me in the living room,
The Pines by Evelyn from their debut album Someday We'll Eat a Feast of Light. It's a really impressive collection with a lot of variety. Danny Lencioni produced it herself with some help, but she really gives each song its own space and time, from introspective folk to more dynamic numbers like the one we heard. Just as Evelyn opened for Ocean Music all those years ago, I'll let them come before the latest project from Richard Elfrichtig. It's called Big Numbers. He calls it a multi-generational power trio consisting of himself on bass and vocals, Scott Randolph on electric guitar and vocals, and Peter Halter on drums and percussion. Because Richard is a record maker extraordinaire, he also layers in some acoustic guitar on a few songs and sent some of the tapes to Ben Lands, who's known for his work with Sufjan Stevens, The National, Beirut, and he layered on some horn arrangements. Did a beautiful job. They just add a little bit of depth to the sound. Overall, it still feels like a Richard Elfrichtig project. It's a little more relaxed than the Ocean Music stuff. He sounds incredibly chill and just kind of at peace with what he's doing with these musicians. Give a listen to Ocean from Big Numbers.
Have you become something wonderful? see all of the planets in motion. They were gone like the ocean.
Ocean by Big Numbers. Their first album, alas, is also their last. The album release show was a farewell show. The three of them are going their separate ways. I know Richard will be doing more in the future. He's one of my favorite musicians of our time, and I can't wait to hear what he does next. You can still order this on cassette. There's 5 left. I have one. You should have one too. We're coming near the end of the show. I just have one more album to feature. The music is not a competition, but when I put out my Best of 2024 so far list in July, I could not imagine any other album completely owning me the way Diamond Jubilee by Cindy Lee did. What an extraordinary record. So beautiful, immersive, embracing of all rock. I just love that record. But then My Light, My Destroyer came out, the third album from Cassandra Jenkins. Her last album, An Overview on Phenomenal Nature, came out in 2020 and landed on my top 25. Now that album really showcased her singing, her songwriting. It was kind of a joint effort with Josh Kaufman. Between the two of them, they played everything. The new album has a much fuller sound, lots of arrangements and musicians, incredible guitar work on here from Kaufman, from El Kempner of Palehound. A guy called Adam Brisbane plays a solo that's just probably my favorite guitar solo of the year on the song Clams Casino. It's just an incredible record. One of the things that really distinguishes Cassandra Jenkins is her storytelling. She just manages to weave these lyrical subjects together from her daily life, from something a friend told her, from the news, and it all comes together and coheres in these stories that you just can't get enough of. She also has a couple of spoken word things on here. One, a conversation with her mom, Sandra, who's a science teacher, talking about Betelgeuse and other planets. It's just an incredible record. I'm completely obsessed with it. I'm seeing her in October, and I just cannot wait. I hope Adam Brisbane is her touring guitarist because, man, that guy can play. But we're going to hear a song in which she comes on a little bit like a chanteuse. It's called Tape and Tissue. Listen to the acoustic bass, played by Spencer Zahn, of all people. Just incredible stuff from Cassandra Jenkins, from her album My Light, My Destroyer. This is Tape and Tissue on Discover Music with an Earful.
Soft tug on my sleeve, I know you, dressed up in bows made of Scotch tape and tissue. I wish you could see the garden reach through page.
Tape and Tissue by Cassandra Jenkins from her third album, My Light, My Destroyer. I was only given permission to share a 30-second sample, but I hope you are intrigued enough to find the whole album. And if you listen to that and you love it, I'm going to tell you to seek out the expanded edition, which has 15 extra minutes of field recordings, demo stuff, and a beautiful instrumental arrangement of Stardust with her trademark field recordings woven in. The album was produced by Jenkins herself with Andrew Lappin, who also helped compose the music. A great choice for her. He's worked with Lorraine and Slauson Malone, one who have both made some of the most fascinating records of recent years. So I just think it's a fantastic collaboration. Everything about the album is completely stellar. Absolutely incredible. Emotional, masterful, an amazing record. I think it may be the best album of the year. I'm kind of dreading December when I have to readjust that list because the best of 2024 so far was a solid list of records. I mean, I still love all those records, so I don't know what I'm going to do, but this album is, like I said, an obsession. My Light, My Destroyer. Cassandra Jenkins. Wow, what a great way to end the August episode of Discover Music with an Earful. If you've made it this far, thank you so much for listening. The way we can spread the word on the finest music of our time is by sharing, rating, and reviewing this podcast. I would be so grateful if you did any of those things. Find it on all the podcast platforms. And I should also mention that all the music you heard was ethically sourced from the artists and labels. Thanks to all of them. You can find links to everything discussed in the show notes, which also includes a Spotify playlist of all the songs. The interstitial tracks are by me, circa 1984 to 1986, with Andy Gilchrist on occasional guitar. Thanks as always to the Droplets, Holly Miranda, Am Parsley, and Chris Maxwell for my theme song. Find me at anearful.substack.com, as well as all the socials. I'll see you in about a month, maybe even less. September's already begun. There's been some great releases, and I can't wait to share those with you too. Thanks again for listening to Discover Music with an Earful. This is Jeremy Shatton.
Musical joy, morning